Good evening. Welcome to South Asia Newsline. I'm Lepakshi Khurana. Here are the top stories we're tracking for you on Wednesday, the 6th of July. Cloudburst and landslide hit India's Himachal Pradesh amid rainfall, at least one killed. Pakistan approves imports in local currency from Afghanistan to buy coal amid energy crisis. And Tibetan spiritual leader Dalai Lama turns 87. American actor Richard Gere joins birthday celebrations in India. And now for all the details. India's northern hill state of Himachal Pradesh, which has been witnessing heavy rainfall, was hit by landslide in Shimla district on Wednesday, which killed at least one person, while 5 people were feared dead after flash floods triggered by cloudburst hit Kullu district. Authorities are on alert as more is expected in coming days.
At least one person was killed and 4 others were injured after a landslide hit an area in Shimla district of India's northern hill state of Himachal Pradesh on Wednesday. Himachal Pradesh, which has been witnessing rainfall since last night, was also hit by flash floods triggered by a cloudburst in Kullu district on Wednesday, in which at least 5 people were feared dead. Dozens of homes and camping sites in the district, a popular tourist destination, were damaged, while roads were blocked in several places after the calamity. Himachal Pradesh Chief Minister Jairam Thakur held a virtual meeting with top administrative officials and directed them to stay on alert in the wake of forecast of heavy rainfall in the coming days.
कि आने वाले समय में 8-9 तारीख की इस तरह की जो संभावना लग रही है कि और ज़्यादा तेज़ बारिश होने वाली है और स्वाभाविक रूप से ज़्यादा बारिश होगी तो ज़्यादा नुकसान होने की भी संभावनाएं बढ़ जाती हैं, तो उसमें हम अलर्ट पे रहें, हाई अलर्ट पे रहें ताकि हम समय पर जो है वो कार्रवाई कर सकें.
Meanwhile, in a shocking incident, villagers in eastern Bihar state's Bhagalpur district were seen demolishing their own homes and taking away construction material as the village faced erosion due to turbulent flow of Kosi river following heavy rainfall. Some of them said their homes had already been washed away. Annual monsoon rains are important for India. However, a large portion of the country struggles with floods during this season, leading to several deaths and loss of property worth millions.
And residents across India expressed anguish after prices of domestic liquid petroleum gas cylinders were hiked by 50 rupees. This is the first gas price hike since May. In May, the rates of LPG cylinders were increased twice.
The state-run Indian Oil Corporation from Wednesday onwards increased the cost of domestic liquefied petroleum gas LPG 14.2 kg cylinder by Rs 50 and will now cost 1053 rupees in capital New Delhi. This is the first hike in prices of the cooking gas cylinders after rates were increased twice in May. In Kolkata, rate of the non-subsidized LPG cylinder now stands at Rs 1079, while in Mumbai costs Rs 1052, in Chennai at Rs 1068, and in Uttar Pradesh it is Rs 937.50. Disappointed housewives across India expressed anguish over the steep hike by the government as they said they have to save money for little things and this has shaken their domestic budgets.
हमारी जो मेड है, हमारे जो काम वाले हैं, वो सभी हमसे कहेंगे कि हम भाभी जी पैसे बढ़ाइए. हम कहाँ से बजट का इतना सारा करेंगे? वैसे ही हमारे घर का बजट बिल्कुल फिक्स रहता है. अब ऐसे हम छोटी-छोटी चीज़ों पे ऐसे सब चीज़ बढ़ाने लगेंगे तो सब कुछ हमारा गड़बड़ा जाएगा.
Leaders of main opposition Congress party, including Rahul Gandhi, also criticized the government over the move. The Indian government has been increasing the rates of the both domestic and commercial LPG cylinders for some time now. LPG cylinder rate is revised monthly for all the states and union territories in India.
And in news from Pakistan, the government has slashed the budget for Armed Forces Development Programme by 72 billion rupees, the 1/5 of the allocation made last month, in order to meet a major condition of International Monetary Fund for a bailout deal. Pakistan desperately needs the money to avert a balance of payment crisis.
Pakistan has slashed the Armed Forces Development Program by Rs 72 billion or one-fifth of the allocation made on June 10 in order to meet a major condition of International Monetary Fund IMF about achieving primary budget surplus in the new fiscal year. Pakistani media outlet Express Tribune reported the original budget that the government tabled in the National Assembly on June 10 showed Rs 363 billion allocations for the Armed Forces Development Program. The allocations are in addition to the regular defense budget. However, the budget provision has been reduced to Rs 291 billion according to the revised budget that the Finance Ministry made public after its approval from the National Assembly. Having a primary budget surplus of Rs 153 billion or 0.2% of the national output is one of the core conditions of the IMF for the revival of the bailout package. Pakistan desperately needs the money to avert a balance of payment crisis that is being brought closer by the day as a result of the sharp rise in global oil and commodity prices. The government also removed fuel subsidies last week and brought petrol prices to nearly Rs 250 per litre to trim fiscal deficit and meet the IMF conditions for the bailout deal.
And moving on, Pakistan on Tuesday approved imports from neighbouring Afghanistan in exchange for local currency for a period of 1 year, a move mainly aimed at buying coal to help ease an energy shortage. The decision was taken in a meeting of Pakistan's Economic Coordination Committee ECC, a statement by the Finance Ministry said. The move is aimed at importing Afghan coal for Pakistan as it faces an energy crisis due to a shortage of foreign reserves to buy LNG or oil in the international market to run its power plants. Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif announced plans last week to import coal from Afghanistan using local currency to save foreign reserves. Islamabad has already announced an easy visa regime for Afghan nationals to help facilitate trade on both sides of the border. Custom duties from coal exported to Pakistan are a key source of revenue for cash-strapped Afghanistan. Kabul has raised duties on sales and increased rates recently. Sanctions on the banking sector and the cut in development aid since the Taliban took control last August have severely hampered Afghanistan's economy. Well, a protest was held by locals in Pakistan-administered Kashmir recently to express anger over frequent load shedding in the illegally occupied region. The protesters blamed the Pakistan government has failed to provide them even basic amenities and has left them high and dry.
Scores of locals in Muzaffarabad city in Pakistan-administered Kashmir recently held a protest and blocked a major road against frequent load shedding in the illegally occupied region, which they claimed has crippled life and their livelihoods. The protesters said that unannounced load shedding is taking place, which negatively impacts economic activities, and their children are unable to carry out their studies. They claim despite the functionality of the Neelam Jhelum hydropower project, the region is still suffering from frequent power outages while they have to pay heavy electricity bills.
हम ये नहीं कहते उनको न दें, हमें पहले दें, पहले हमें दें, फिर उसके बाद पाकिस्तान को दें। ये आज ये उस वक्त तक नहीं होगी जब तक यहाँ के तमाम इंतजामिया के सीनियर लोग जहाँ नहीं आएंगे, उस वक्त तक ये रोड हम बना के रखेंगे।
Locals have time and again accused Pakistan of meting out a stepmotherly treatment to the illegally occupied region, failing to develop the infrastructure and leaving them high and dry. However, this seems a new low that Islamabad has stooped to in order to harass them.
And in news from Afghanistan, former Afghan President Hamid Karzai, in an interview with a Dubai-based TV channel, called the recent gathering of the Islamic clerics held in Kabul symbolic, saying that this was more a gathering of the Taliban movement themselves. The Jirga, or Grand Assembly of Religious Scholars and Elders, last week called for national support to the Taliban-run Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan and international recognition of the interim government. Some Afghan citizens, however, expressed concerns and said that the gathering did not focus on main issues gripping Afghanistan. Karzai, who was in power from 2002 to 2014, said that he would not be willing to lead again. He also expressed concerns over the freezing of Afghanistan's central bank assets. While humanitarian assistance continues to flow, aid needed for longer-term development was halted when the Taliban took over Kabul last August as foreign forces withdrew. Karzai also renewed his call for Afghan girls' immediate return to school, linking the country's development and prosperity to education. Foreign governments have said the Taliban needs to change its course on women's rights before economic sanctions imposed after they seized power can be lifted. And Eid al-Adha is one of the most auspicious festivals celebrated with religious fervour by Muslims all around the world. With preparations are in full swing, hundreds of people thronged cattle market in Bangladesh's capital as they looked to buy plump bovines for sacrifice ahead of the festival.
Hundreds of people gathered at a cattle market in Bangladesh capital on Tuesday as they looked to buy plump bovines for sacrifice ahead of Eid al-Adha festival. Eager cattle traders in search of potential buyers travel alongside their livestock via boats and trucks to bring them to the bustling market in Dhaka.
আমি 3টা গরু পালছি আশা করি সারা বছর পালছি কিছু কুরবানির জন্য বিক্রি করব কিছু আশা লাভের জন্য
According to locals, many cattle were sold at the market for around $2,133, which is considered as a reasonable price but more expensive than in previous years due to inflation.
আমি কুরবানির জন্য একটা গরু কিনেছি আল্লাহর ওয়াস্তে কুরবানি দেব আর 2 লক্ষ টাকা দিয়ে
Traditionally, during Eid al-Adha, Muslims slaughter livestock to commemorate a sacrifice by the Prophet Ibrahim of his son on God's command and share the meat with the poor as part of celebrations. On Sunday, hundreds of onlookers gathered to watch 2 bulbous bovines being lowered from a rooftop barn in Pakistan's commercial capital Karachi, which is once a year spectacle. Every year, plump and polished cattle are lowered 12 meters by crane from Sayyid Ijaz Ahmad's rooftop barn in the city's Nazimabad neighborhood ahead of the 3-day sacrificial festival. The Eid al-Adha festival, also known as Bakra Eid, Bakrid, will kick off on July 10th this year.
And the Tibetan spiritual leader, the Dalai Lama, turned 87 on Wednesday. Tibetans in exile, followers and friends of Tibet celebrated the auspicious occasion in India's northern hill town of Dharamshala with grand festivities and prayed for his well-being and long life. American actor Richard Gere also joined hundreds of Buddhist monks and devotees in celebrating the occasion at an event by the Central Tibetan Administration of the Tibetan government in exile.
Tibetans in exile on Wednesday celebrated the 87th birthday of their spiritual leader, the 14th Dalai Lama, in India's northern hill town of Dharamshala. The celebration saw a variety of folk dance and instrumental performances from various communities. American actor and international campaign for Tibet chairman Richard Gere joined hundreds of Buddhist monks and devotees at Suklakhang Buddhist temple to celebrate the occasion at an event organized by the Central Tibetan Administration of the Tibetan government in exile led by Sikyong Penpa Tsering. Himachal Pradesh Chief Minister Jairam Thakur virtually attended the event.
I met 40 years ago in Dharamsala. The first time that I was able to meet His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and which clearly changed my life. So I'm here today to commemorate and inaugurate this incredible building that houses His Holiness's work, his lifetime work.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi joined several world leaders across the globe in extending greetings to the Dalai Lama on his birthday. His Holiness inaugurated a new Dalai Lama library and archive in Dharamshala. Addressing the audience at the inauguration ceremony, the Dalai Lama said, "We have been sincere in our struggle. So far, all these years, I have worked sincerely, respecting law, and as a result of that, Tibetan issue is not only a political matter, but it is a matter of truth." The Dalai Lama was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1989. After a rebellion against the Chinese rule in 1959, the spiritual leader had exiled himself in India and has since been living mostly in Himachal Pradesh, Dharamshala. The Nobel laureate's supporters operate a government in exile and promote Tibet's autonomy by peaceful means.
Well, that's all we have for you from South Asia this evening. Now, our viewers can watch the show on SouthAsiaNewsline.com. You can also visit us on Facebook.com/SAsiaNewsline and follow us on Twitter @SAsiaNewsline. That's all in tonight's edition. We'll see you same time tomorrow. Good night.